My next guest, Isabella Kituri, has come a long way to be where she is. From an intern to a reporter to a news anchor and now the weekend news editor, she has surpassed many challenges to be who she is today. Maybe to just start, what inspired you to be a journalist?
In the 80s, I was inspired by the late Anofula because I loved the way she presented news, and I said, oh, maybe I could do this, and I did it. And my dad was a big fan of BBC, so they had this tug of war. He told me, no, you go to BBC. And then I was 9 years old. So it's a dream that I had and that I put a deadline to, that immediately after Form 4, I would be somewhere in a broadcasting house. I don't know what I would be, but I would have to find my way there.
Being a lady in the media, especially newsroom, we know newsroom wars. How do you manage it?
As human beings, we are all very competitive. Everybody wants to be ahead. It doesn't matter who is around you, because at the end of the day, it's the winner who takes the trophy home. So you just cultivate best practices within yourself as a person first. Of course, there's the culture of timing, knowing what is right what is right, and seizing opportunities, and just being at the right time, at the right place. That's what has kept me going. There are things that you look at and they don't look like much, they don't look big, but you employ a lot of creativity. Creativity can really sail you through. There may be many people around you doing the same thing, but how are you doing it? Are you doing it differently? And does differently mean, does it catch the eye or the attention of somebody? Does it bring change? That's been my driving force.
What are the challenges you faced, during this journey to be where you are now?
Let me say KBC was my first home. I believed that I had a talent and I could do it. All I needed in school was the tools of how to proceed. And so after a while, I got a chance at KBC radio, then it was Sophie Kilei, but just for one day, because the next day, I got an opportunity in KTN where I am now. I love what I do, I enjoy it. It's not been easy as a woman, because first, they take you for granted. I always encourage ladies, there is no glass ceiling. That is just a theory. A glass can be broken. You can climb up, it does not matter. Whatever kind of footing you use, just make sure you're moving up the ladder.
Have you ever faced situations whereby maybe stories are allocated based on, whether it's a guy or it's a lady like you?
Oh, yes. Like there was a time there was a shootout. My first assignment, I was an intern at KTN. There was a big shootout somewhere in Dandora, yeah? I remember that time those videos Mwade, and I was the only person in the newsroom. The guys who do crime had left for other stories. And the editor walks in and says, oh, now who will go? I said, but I'm here. So he says, are you sure? I said, yes. And that was my first assignment, and I never stopped, and I did it well, and everybody gave me a clap.
When you face such extreme situations, in your own opinion, do you think it's worth it?
For a journalist and for any other profession, I think you are at your best when you contribute something. So every day you have to, even if you don't get a story in the diary, you have to come up with a story in your head. Even if it won't go on air that day, but at least that week should not pass without you doing something. At the end of the day, every story you churn out builds you and builds your society. There's a lot of different kinds of journalism. We have advocacy journalism. We have crime prevention, corruption prevention journalism, diplomacy journalism. So you look at the area where you really feel this is where my passion is, this is where I can bring change. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to go home and say, oh, I was born, I did journalism, and I went back home. No, you want to be part of change in a society, and that is the greatest part of anybody.
Talk to us about, competition among journalists competing for a story or for that scoop.
It's so competitive because it's not only you as a journalist, it's the media house that you work for. They need to sell, they need to attract the audience, they need to keep the audience that they have. And so all that, finding a balance is a bit tricky sometimes, but at the end of the day, it works out for everybody, provided there's no kind of unethical somersault in the background. I think it's okay. Let it come, because if there's no competition, then we are not working. We are not in the business anymore.
What do you do when you're caught up in a situation whereby you're given a story to do that maybe contradicts your, your principles?
Yes, especially stories that evoke a lot of faith issues, religion. There's a time, the last time we had these riots of Jamia Mosque, yes, Christians were involved, the Muslims were involved. At the end of the day, we are brothers, and then you have to go and write this story. So as an editor, somebody brings you that story. And do you want to say, no, these ones could not have been throwing stones. So there's that level of being partial and impartial. It's hard, but at the end of the day, the crack of the matter is that this is what happened. If you don't say it, there were audience outside who watched, who saw it, and they would, at the end of the day, your station would suffer. So let the truth be told. The rest will sort it out later, and maybe you could do some, now we come into talk shows and all that, to find a balance and just cool tempers and find a calmer way of solving issues.
Maybe just as we finish up, a lot of people out there, when they see beautiful ladies like you presenting on TV, all they think is like, okay, most of it's just beauty. And it can be a bit hurtful if actually you're a journalist by profession. Do you face such situations, and how do you handle them?
I feel it's really unfair to judge a book by its cover. The book, as you look at it, has chapters, and each chapter has been written in a different way. Maybe not in the way you want as an audience or as an outsider who doesn't know that person, that a news anchor. But these people are doing something for themselves personally. I, for example, tarmacked a lot, while in school. I had to do a lot of work outside to pay my own school fee. After some point, we have 5 kids in my family. So my dad has all these kids in high school. I had to do some work. Just little work here and there outside to pay my school fees. Get myself here to KBC, walking all the way from KMC and to KTN, just trying to get my space. And I do that, and I succeed. And then here comes somebody and says, you're a blonde? Well, surely, before you call somebody that, just ask. Maybe give them a call, and you'll be shocked. Many of these girls who are on TV came from very far. They really sweat and toil. Maybe some of them got it easy entering in, but even if you enter into a studio easy, you have to sustain it, and sustenance of a good project is the hardest part of it all. So give somebody a chance. Let them do what they do. If they want to fail, let themselves fail themselves.
But not fail them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Isabella.
KBC Channel 1.